We corrected 50 together, right? Have that filled in? Page 50? Okay. So, how far did we get with 51? Like I assigned 51 to 53. Did we get some of those done? Some of those? Well, I will do some with you because in a bit I'll give you an AC. So maybe this is your second chance to grasp the concept. So here's a deck of cards. And remember, this section is all about determining, does the first event affect my second event? If the first event affects your second event, we call them dependent. It's a dependent probability situation, and the total of outcomes is affected. And usually the keyword is no replacement. So Julia draws a card from a standard deck of cards without replacing it, okay? So we gotta highlight that. And then draws another card. So every scenario, so A is a scenario, reset. You put everything back, and then you look at B. What's happening there? You put all the cards back. And then C, okay? So that's how I want you to understand that. So what's the probability of drawing a spades card if the first card was a 4 of diamonds? Okay. So obviously it's going to be 51, right? 51, 1 is removed. So we're down to 51. And then we have to ask ourselves, this is the first event. This is the second event. It's just worded differently, right? But did this first event affect the number of spades, let's say? Did it? Think about it. It didn't, right? Because it's diamonds. So we still have the full 13 spades available to us. Right? Total affected, right? 52 minus 1. Right? That's the 51 that we get there. Spades not affected. Spades not affected. If you need this, right? But this is the answer here, right? This is what we're after. Next, so reset, guys, reset. Everything is back in the deck now. Let's look at B. The probability of drawing a face card, you want to know what it is. If the first card was a queen of spades. So this is the first event, this is the second event. Again, if the card has not been replaced, we're down to 51. I think everybody would agree there. Now we have to ask ourselves, does the queen of spades affect the number of face cards that I have? What do you think, guys? If I take a queen of spades, does it affect the number of face cards? Yeah, because it's a queen, right? It is a face card. Face card. Yes. So that means that you go from 12 to 11. Okay. Can I just, I'm going to rewind, okay? So I'm going to show you, it's like 12 minus 1, you get the 11. 52 minus 1, you get the 51 there. Right? So this is kind of saying the one card that has been removed actually affected both numerator and denominator. Okay, so can I make a note? Note total affected and face cards affected. Affected by first event. Total affected and face cards affected by the first event, right? So this is one of the scenarios where both numbers dropped. Okay, the probability of drawing a black card if the first card was a king of spades. This is your first event, right? This is your second event. So we have, since one has been removed, sorry, what did I say here? Yeah, since one has been removed, we are down to 51. Will this affect the number of black cards? I see nods, right? Spades, right? It's a black card. So therefore, you used to have 26, now you're down to 25. So 26 minus 1, 52 minus 1. That's how you got these numbers there. I hope you're understanding what's happening. And cards are a little more challenging, I get it. The probability of drawing a blackjack, right? If the first card was a blackjack. So we used to have 2, now we only have 1, because there are 2 blackjacks, 2 red jacks, right? So we're down to 1, and this is 51. So we go 2 minus 1, 52 minus 1. Okay. So 1 over 51 is your probability there. We do okay? First thing in the morning, right? What do you think, Mr. Dirksen? I'm just trying to stay awake here, and you're like talking about some probability of whatever, right? Cards, psst, video games, that's where it's at. I don't play cards. We used to play cards, and it was almost like banned. Like it was frowned upon playing cards because it was associated with gambling. So we always had like everybody had like their deck, and so if they confiscated one, we still had another backup, right? Like everybody would like sacrifice their deck of cards. It's just silly, right? Like it was math, really. There's a lot of math involved there. The probability of a red face card, if the first one was a red jack. So red jack is a face card. Face and red. Sorry. Let's just focus on the face card part. It's a face card. So naturally I'm down to 51. And how many red face cards are there? There's 6 of them, right? 6. So that therefore, if a red jack has been removed, I'm down to 5. So it's 6 minus 1. This used to be 52 minus 1. And so it's 5 over 51. That's your answer. The first card was a king of diamonds. What's the probability of an ace? That's right, 4. The 51 is hopefully that part you get, right? And this would be 4 because does not affect your aces, right? Only, comma, only total. So probability, if you think about it, there's not a whole lot of math, right? Like there's not like vehicle finance, trade, you do a lot of setup, calculating. There's this literally just like you put the right numbers where they belong. The probability of drawing a queen, if the first one was a queen of clubs. Morning. So we used to have 4 queens, now it's only 3. And out of 52, we're down to 51. So it'll be 4 minus 1, 52 minus 1. So one thing that I'm going to tell you, the way I will mark is if the denominator is correct, you already get partial marks. So you should at least catch that, oh, I used to have 52, it's not being replaced, I'm down to 51. And then the numerator is going to be another part of the mark. Okay. Depends on how much work needs to be done there. Okay, so this is Deshaun drew a card from a standard deck of cards. It was a face card, so that's my first event. He did not put it back. Let's highlight that. Did not put it back. So that's how you know these are dependent events. If I ever ask you, well, how would you know this is independent versus dependent? You tell me, hey, things are not being placed back, which means the first event affects the second. 52. Okay. What is the probability that the second card will be an ace? This is my second event. And so you're not replacing that face card, so you're down to 51. And there are still 4 aces. 4 out of 51. Nothing has been changed there. Okay, so this is dependent versus independent, right? That's basically how you deal with them. Let me see on 53. Everything is not replaced. Let's do it though anyways. I'll do it a little quicker. Did you do 53 already? Some of you have that guilty look. You just stare. You just avoid eye contact or just stare up front. It's like, I don't know. 53. Be real quick. So let's read it. So Elizabeth works at an after-school daycare in Saskatchewan. She helps some children beaded necklaces, and the bag contains 15 red, 12 blue, 18 white beads. What does that add up to? 45. Thank you. So 45 total. It's a good idea on this unit to come up with your total. It is really good. It's just gonna help you out later on. What is the probability that a randomly chosen bead will be white? So you just go and check and see if there's 18 white beads and 45 total. That's it. That is what I would ask you to figure out. If the first bead drawn is white, so there's your first event, and is not replaced, that's key there. What's the probability of the second bead being white? Well, we're down to 44 beads because the first one is not replaced, and you used to have 18, now you're down to 17. So I'm just going to show how I got that, right? 18 minus 1, 45 minus 1. So that's your probability there. If the first bead was a white one and it is not replaced, what's the probability that the second bead will be blue? In this case, the only thing affected is your denominator. Like you can tell something drops there, but the blues are still the same. It's still 12, just like at the very beginning. So that'll be 12 out of 44. So you go 12 minus 0, 44 minus 1. Okay. Last one, from the original bead bag of beads, right? This a white bead and a blue bead are drawn and not replaced. Morning. What's the probability of the third bead being red? So why don't we do this? I'm just trying to help you here. A white one has been replaced, so you're down to 17, right? And a blue one has been taken, so you're down to 11. Why don't you do that? And now it says, what's the probability of the third bead being a red one? We still have 15, just like at the very beginning. So the first two events did not affect the number of reds that I have. And then here, this should be 42. Sorry, 43. I was almost going to go for the 42 because I looked at this, but that's not the original, right? We have 45 at the very beginning. So it's 43 total, 15 reds. Okay, so that's 15 over 43. There you go. So find ways to help you out. There's so many ways of doing that. If you have a deck of cards, have that on your study sheet. I hope you have that by now. 53. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give you an AC to do, and then we'll correct it, and then the rest of the class you'll be able to review for the quiz, which is tomorrow, second period. For you, second period tomorrow. and then on Friday I'll have it marked back to you, and then I have to cover a little bit more, and then Monday is our test. Right? Friday, we won't have a full class because of the Remembrance Day ceremonies. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind.